Hi, sweeties. How are you doing? Welcome to Naya. Same thing. Thank you so much for the support. Hope you all are doing great. So, I am going to say this as a Black person, as an African woman, and that is, I am really tired of people telling Black people that, you are going to survive. I know Black people will always look for a way to survive. But it is very tiring that you know that all you live, you're just going to continue to survive. When will Black people start living that life that they want, they dream and all that? And some people say continue to dream and all that, just dream bigger. Black people dream bigger. But it's very draining for those that do not know. It is very draining that you wake up Sunday and you know that it is still the same circle that you are you are passing through and all that. It hurts. For those that don't know, it really does hurt. And I am going to say this. For those that said that America is not a racist country, I hope you all are seeing it, especially Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk that has been lying up and down looking for a way to debate younger kids because he feels like his voice will be heard when he speaks with younger kids. He was talking about DEI, affirmative action, and all that. Say a very big shout out to this. I love the fact that young Black kids, teens, are learning, are beginning to understand what this country is made of, because there is nothing as being ready for your enemy. When you are always ready, you will be able to defeat them. This girl was just, from what I saw before, like I have seen her debate before, there is so much improvement, and this is something that I love. She did a great job. Let's get into this.
Charlie Kirk, this country is diverse. You can't just say the pursuit of diversity is compromising excellence. Diversity literally just means difference. This country is 13% Black, it's 14% immigrant, it's 1/5 of every person in this country is Hispanic, it's 7% homosexual, and 50% of the country disagrees with you.
Okay,
diversity is America. You cannot say
all of that is true.
You
Hold on.
are America first if you do not care about half of America.
I care about them so much, in fact.
You care about them so much that you don't want to give them
I didn't interrupt you.
access to equal rights.
Well, hold on. No one said rights. Hold on a second. No. I care about them.
It is. It's equal rights. It's
Naima,
equal
let
access.
me finish. Now who's interrupting who? I care about them so much. I want the only thing that they're ever judged on is to be their character or their competency, not their skin color.
Okay, so you want it to be a meritocracy.
Yes.
Want it to be so let's talk about a meritocracy.
Okay.
What experience does Kash Patel have to run the FBI?
He has amazing experience.
No, he doesn't. He wanted to start a UFC fighting program in the FBI.
He has amazing experience. I got 5 words in. He was the most important thing. He was a public defender.
That's not what that's not the job of the FBI. He has no experience in the FBI.
He was a public defender and he was a special prosecutor.
Was he ever a member of the FBI?
No, but
he doesn't have the merit to have
hold
that.
On a second.
All right, let's do another example.
But
what experience does Linda McMahon? What experience does Linda McMahon have to run?
She ran the Small Business Administration in the first term, which is a big organization. She was the head of the SBA.
When she was the CEO of WWE,
I'm not even talking about that. She ran the SBA.
One of her employees was engaging in pedophilic behavior with their ring boys under her watch.
I'm not going to defend that.
And now she is somehow qualified to be responsible for all of America's children?
Hold on a second. She was previously a cabinet secretary and then became a different cabinet secretary. That's like a one-to-one.
Yeah, and then before that, she was enabling a pedophile.
So what you're first of all, I don't know about that instance. If that's true, that's wrong.
That's very much true. How do you not know about that, Charlie?
I don't know about every...
It's like very much...
Okay. Again,
public information. It's really important to know that the head of the Department of Education is currently in a lawsuit.
But let me finish the point, which is that the WWE can be easily made fun of. That's a serious business, though. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
It is, that engaged in pedophilic activities.
Of which I denounce. I don't support that. However, she was head of the SBA, and now she's head of the Department of Education. Tell me another unqualified person.
Another unqualified person?
Marco Rubio
Hegseth.
Okay.
No, actually, I think Marco is slightly more qualified.
Let's talk about Hegseth. He's the most qualified because he actually accepted enemy fire and lost loved ones and friends of his own.
That doesn't make you...
Hold on.
Dude,
to run the U.S. military, to be a warrior, not just an academic general, that's very important.
Look, dude, I respect veterans. My boyfriend's a veteran. I love veterans. That being said, not every person who is a veteran is qualified to run the Department of Defense.
I think he's also shown the last couple of weeks he's doing a pretty phenomenal job. The prior head of the DOD, Lloyd Austin, could barely climb up a flight of stairs. Pete Hegseth is up at 5 a.m. doing PT with the troops, running miles, and then doing an entire day at the Pentagon. And you might say that doesn't matter. I actually think physical fitness and being a good example to our troops is very important when you're the head of the Department of Defense.
Okay, but being the head of the Department of Defense is not about doing push-ups.
Hold on, but first of all, it's actually just refreshing versus Mark Milley and Lloyd Austin. But secondly, I will say the criteria is that he's a warrior's warrior. He's someone that was in the front lines and actually received medals and knows what it's like to lose loved ones. And the other people that were qualified, Naima, were people that got us in endless wars, people that never saw combat. I think it's finally time that we have someone in combat that runs the Secretary of Defense. I think that's immensely qualified.
Okay, sure. So we'll take Pete Hegseth for Department of Defense.
Yes, he's
we'll
doing a
take
great job.
someone who enabled pedophilia for the Department of Education.
That's an unfair
We'll take Kash Patel,
categorization.
who has never worked in the FBI.
He was a prosecutor, so the FBI's a...
Dude, do you remember what he said when he first got the nomination?
Do you want to go back to Kash Patel for a second?
He said, yeah. I'm like, this is sick.
Okay,
can
we go back to Kash Patel, though?
That is like insanely inappropriate.
Can we go back to Kash Patel? So he was himself a prosecutor that tried cases. That's a law enforcement mechanism. I think they're asking for someone else.
All right,
Naima, great to see you again. Thank you.
I do want to talk a little bit about his policy on DEI. As you know, in his first weeks in office, he signed the executive order declaring that DEI is both unlawful and a threat to national unity. And I just kind of want to ask you to elaborate on why DEI is unlawful.
Well, based on the Civil Rights Act, which I have disagreements with, but based on the Civil Rights Act, which is the law of the land, it says you shall not discriminate based on color, race, creed, or origin of nationality.
Yes.
And DEI definitionally does those things.
How does it definitionally do those things?
So, for example, if you say you are going to hire a certain amount of people or have scholarships only for a certain people, you are then prejudicing against another group.
Which group are you prejudicing
against? White people, Asians as well. I mean, white people are an easy one off the top of your head. So, for example, in the Harvard admissions case, I said this earlier, the average test score for a black individual was around 1,300 SAT, about 3.2 GPA. For a white or Asian, it would be about a 3.9 to 4 GPA and about nearly a perfect SAT. So you are disenfranchising and stereotyping and prejudicing against whites or Asians in favor of blacks.
You're not prejudicing against whites or Asians, though, because DEI is not on a race basis. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion of all people. Affirmative action is what is intended to address racial inequality, but DEI isn't on the basis of race.
Well, so DEI is a project of the affirmative action movement, so one comes before the other. He signed an executive order against both, for the record, so I wasn't sure which one you were talking about.
I'm talking about DEI.
So DEI, it depends what we mean in practice. So I can give you one example. There are black-only graduation ceremonies at certain schools, or black-only dormitories.
But those are kind of student-led. I mean,
on,
I'm part of a black-only
play this out.
organization,
So,
and it's run by students. It's not
fair
through
enough.
the school.
Let's play it out. So if there is a black-only, let's pretend, which it's not, that building is black-only. If I said that, if that building was
I'm
white,
like the campus center?
No, I said let's
okay.
pretend it's
yes,
not.
hypothetically, yes.
Hypothetically, if that building was white only, you would agree that's a violation of the Civil Rights Act.
Yes, but there
Hold
are
on,
no buildings on campus that are black only and white only.
Well,
and by the way,
but there are on other campuses.
No,
though.
but in those dormitories that are like culturally specific, you don't have to be that culture to live there. They're not going to not allow you to be black to live in a black dormitory.
You would
no,
be, you'd be
Ujima
surprised.
at Stanford. White people do live at Ujima. That's not.
I don't know about that specific example, but if it says black-only dormitory.
But it doesn't say black only.
But okay, how about this? How about if we had? Well, it does.
It doesn't. Where? Where does it say that?
Just to be clear, well, in the title. But let's
no,
pretend
but
it says
where?
black.
Like what school? Where does it say black only building?
Eastern Washington University, Portland State University, just off the top of my head, San Jose State University.
They say black only dormitory. And if a white person were to apply to live there,
it's a black affinity cultural space of which only black individuals are accepted and governed for black individuals. But can we have white affinity cultural spaces?
You can have a white affinity cultural space. The activity is, the issue is that
I
you're
think
saying
that's
black
against the Civil Rights
only.
Act.
It's not black only. It's a black affinity cultural space. But anyone is invited if they would like to participate.
I would, first of all,
You cannot legislatively
I
allow
agree.
someone of any race to participate in
no,
something. That doesn't exist.
We agree. That's the spirit of the diversity, equity, inclusion order, is that DEI in practice, again, we have to go through example after example, is discrimination, prejudice, and
let's
segregation.
talk about DEI in practice. Let's talk about DEI programs in the workforce, because DEI programs in the workforce happen to benefit veterans. They benefit people with disabilities. They benefit people at an economic desperate. They benefit lots of people that is not just on the basis of race. And to me, it feels like you're conflating DEI with pro-blackness or black only, which is not the definition of DEI.
So let's take a high-profile DEI example. Is that cool? Just maybe one we can play around with?
Okay.
Which I got me in a lot of viral trouble, which I don't care, which is pilots.
I got in a lot of viral trouble, too. I was debating this guy,
I know. And he kept interrupting you.
He did!
I know, right? Which is that, let's say DEI. A project of DEI at United Airlines was that we want to get 40% of our pilots to be black or women of color, or women or people of color.
40%.
50. I'm sorry, to get up to 50. It was at like 6%. So therefore, they wanted to make a push towards that, and it was currently at 6%. We look at that and we say, wow, you're going to have to lower standards to get to that goal.
Why would you have to lower standards?
Well, because...
Are you saying that black people are inherently inferior?
I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that, A, black people are only 13% of the population, so you want 13% of the population.
Women are not 13% of the population. Women are 50% of the population.
Yeah, but women do not make up a majority of people that want to become pilots. In fact, the vast majority of women don't want to be pilots.
Maybe they would want to become pilots if the barriers for entry weren't...
See, now we're going down a different but equally fun direction, which is male-female differences. Men much more likely want to be involved in heavy machinery mechanics. They want to be pilots. They want to be tank operators. They want to be police officers. Whereas women much more likely want to be, Ellen, I'll get to you, Mason. Don't worry. And I remember your name.
Yes, can Mason go? They won't let him go because he's not
let Mason
USC.
go. I'll let Mason go. But just, Mason, have some patience. We did this last time, okay? But do you understand, at least from our perspective, because it's no good for us to go back and forth again, maybe from our perspective, that we worry that the pursuit of diversity can mean the compromising of excellence.
So we say black people are resilient, but resilience without restoration is just survival dressed up as personality. And somewhere in there, in between the code switching and crisis response, we stop playing, we stop dreaming, because imagination doesn't feed you when the lights are off. And the thing is that it ends up feeling like joy feels illegal. Dreams feel childish, but grief gets funded. But because we learned early, fantasy gets you laughed at, softness gets you punished, wonder gets you edited out of your survival plan. The cog teaches you logic is safety. The reverb traps you in yesterday's losses. So you stop dreaming forward. You start surviving backward. And here's the thing. Your imagination didn't just disappear. It was criminalized, not by police, by a system that only wants your creativity if it's for content, not for healing. Not for liberation, not for you. And here's the thing, is that your imagination is memory trying to survive the present. You dreamed before you knew how to be strong. So I'm not asking if you're okay. I'm asking if you remember the stories you told yourself before you knew who you had to be. What did 7-year-old you build out of sticks and sidewalk chalk? What world did you rule with your cousins in a blanket for it? That was not childish. That's what I'm getting at. That was sacred. We can survive anything, but can we imagine anything? And here's one of the things. If we can't, right? Then what are we surviving for? Sometimes, we get to see these cases where we're extremely hyper rational. We can think through it all. We see this world, and I call these type of people a witness. And they see this world and they see everything. And just because the world's crooked doesn't mean it's time to tilt your head, right? It's time for you to dream for us, right? Picture a world that we can't live in, right? Because we need to be able to dream as a society. Our imagination is important, right, to us. It's key. So in those moments where you're seeing that, right, and you have all this empathy, all of this charged up understanding, you see the world clearer than anybody else. That is not your time to fall into the constant trap, the constant depressing spiral. That's your time to dream for us. Right, for us as a culture, for us as a people, when you see all those things that disappoint you, I want you to dream better. Right? I would love to hear some beautiful models on Black TV. Right? Get talked about, just get posted. Right? Instead of all these takes on You know, what's disappointing about our culture, all the things, the pop the balloons. Just say the other idea, dream for.
I had a white leftist contradict me to my face before telling me that I just like being addicted to rage. White leftists are not only the weakest link, but they're actively a fucking problem, and I just can't stand them, and I'm tired of sharing space with them, like, entirely. Why are you breathing my air? Y'all could really go back to the slave owners and Nazis from whence you came. No one needs you, no one wants you, please fuck off now. Like, I'm so beyond my fucking capacity for this bullshit. Because I said a couple of things, but the only thing that I was legally allowed to say bluntly was that we need to shun and shame the Nazis out of existence. It's a historical strategy that does work. And I had a white leftist come into my comment section to contradict me to my face about it, telling me that, you know, we might have shamed the Nazis out of existence in some places, but they're still practicing fascism in others. To which my response is, yes, because the job isn't done. It doesn't mean anyone has failed. It just means we need to keep going. That's it. This is consistently one of my biggest problems with white leftists. They expect everyone who came before them to have solved all their problems. They want all the problems they do have to have damn near instant solutions, and they can't handle a hard conversation, and they can't handle a complex thought, which is why you're fucking useless. And when I said, obviously the job hasn't been completed yet, they had given me a variation of, no, that was my point, see, the job was never done. Acknowledging that we're not done with something is not the same as saying that we didn't do it in the first place, and that's what you're not understanding. A lot of y'all talk like contrarians, the same way that your Nazi and alt-right counterparts do. And I genuinely don't think a lot of y'all have stopped to realize that. So you show up in public spaces and public forums to be like, well, actually, despite you knowing the least amount of information in the room. And then y'all get butthurt and bitch about solidarity when someone corrects you. And that's why no one wants to fuck with you at all. And then they were like, I'm a gay immigrant child of blank blank. I don't give a fuck. No one cares. Literally none of it overrides your painfully white lived experience. The only person who thinks otherwise is you and 5 other white people. That's worth nothing. You ain't in the club just because you feel like it, and you ain't in the club because you want to be. You can go fuck yourself. And I genuinely think that a lot of y'all are worse than the centrists because you truly believe yourselves to be leftists at the end of the day. So just like Madeline Pendleton, y'all will romp through the streets until someone stops and corrects you. And the entire reason you and I are having this one conversation is because nobody can fucking afford that. Nobody has time for that. Nobody has space for that. Nobody has energy for that. So I'm telling you in advance the thing that no one else is going to say. You are actually on your own. Like you, this one subgroup of people, are actually so on your own and no one cares. So good luck and Godspeed. But stop whining in my phone like we're contemporaries. I don't fucking like you. If you ever see my face to come help you, it's probably because there was an ethnic person like 2 doors down for you that I actually gave a fuck about, and that's why I'm in your building. You better really fucking hope a rising tide lifts all ships.
If Dems aren't meeting our expectations, why are we obligated to vote for them? Be for real. We know harm reduction doesn't work. Malcolm X, MLK, W.E.B. Du Bois all stated this very bluntly. Du Bois wrote the piece, I Won't Vote, in 1956. He stated that he voted for Wilson as a Southern liberal. He also said that under Wilson came the worst attempt at Jim Crow legislation and discrimination in civil services since the Civil War. And you might say, well, this was in the past. Things are different now. Okay. How about Ferguson, Missouri in 2014? That happened under Obama. How about the Vietnam War under LBJ and JFK? What about Biden and Gaza? And you may respond with, state and local levels are better and more progressive. And I would respond with, okay, how about Eric Adams in New York? He's a Democrat that's in love with using state violence against workers, university students, and POC. For my state, Michigan, Governor Whitmer just announced that she would be supporting new Air Force operations in Michigan. Does that help POC people in the Global South? What about Sri Thanadar in Detroit? He completely ignored his constituents who were asking him to speak up on Gaza. The truth is, there is only one party, and it goes by 2 separate names. It will be elected despite all I can do or say. That is by W.E.B. Du Bois, 1956. I say all this because I want to know, why don't we use our leverage and push the Democrats to the left instead of letting the Democrats push us to the right?
This is all I got from this video, and you know what? I am actually tired of surviving as a Black person. It is so hard trying to survive. Like every day as a Black person, you wake up, all you want to, like the only thing that comes to your mind is how to survive the day, how to like get through the day, how to like beat the day, how to like beat the system, how to survive, how to live, how to uphold your head, how to keep your head above the water level. That is the only thing, Black people. And I am tired of it. Don't tell me not to. I am tired. I know it's good to dream. I know it's good to. We want all our dream. I just want Black people's dream to be reality. Because people are just going to keep dreaming and it doesn't come to reality. You get so tired. You get frustrated. You are sick because the system ain't working. And they said the system wasn't designed for people that look like me. But I want that system in design for everybody. That is something you or some people do not understand. That if there is something Black people walk through, was just to get everybody on the system, get the system work for everybody, not just for one person, not just to keep every other person down, not just to keep people that look like me down and other people of color. But I don't care about them because they do not care about my people. Why do I even have to like talk about them? I care so much about my people. And liberation for them is also liberation for me. Because when it's good for them, it is automatically good for me. Now, let me tell us something. You see Charlie Kirk? Charlie Kirk is that you heard where he says, okay, I am going to say that I appreciate this girl. I think like, she is so much improving. Nobody should like, she is a very young girl. She is in college and I am sure she's not more than 18, 19 years. So nobody should say anything about maybe she's not. No, she did a very great job. Because Charlie Kirk is used to debating people that he is 100 times older than. And from what she did today, from what I saw from this video, she is so much improving because I have also seen her debate with Charlie and other people too. So she is doing a great job. And I love the fact that the young ones are also learning and also understanding how the system works and all that. I love where she asked him, so are you trying to say that people that look like me are low, that was what he meant, like low IQ or they do not get any, you know how they say it, like when he used that pilot, he is like, when I see a Black pilot anywhere, I am going to ask, is this person qualified? He is a DEI hire and all that. Yeah, that is a talking point. So most of the times when they are saying something, I am glad. That's why I keep saying, when you get to know what is going on, you will be able to catch up with them. It is when you don't know what is going on that you don't catch up. Just Charlie Kirk that couldn't even finish community college wants a like meritocracy. Like, how is that even going to work? Sincerely speaking, I love the fact that she just kept interrupting him because this is what he knows how to do best. When he see younger ones that are like, they are young, teen, right? He wants to talk over them. I love the fact that she just kept interrupting him till the conversation got to an extent. Charlie Kirk is a word person. He is the person that came out to say that there is no, America is a country without racism and all that. But that is to tell you how some people will defend anything. And when you don't stand for anything, you die for everything. When you don't stand for anything, you stand for nothing. The girl is there. I would say she's a breath of fresh air. I like the way she came all out. And she did a great job. See, I am not going to see. Now they have changed Black people's name to Libra. I do not care if you like Libras or you do not like Libras, but nobody cares. As long as you don't put food on any Black person's table, you don't put food on our table, you don't do anything, nobody cares who you are. My house is not being supplied with. You are not taking care of me. You aren't giving me money. You are nothing. Black people do not care about you people. I don't know if they understand this. Bye for now.